Morning, everybody. Let's see if I grab a clicker here. First of all, Alan, great job. Thank you. I've learned a lot from Alan over the years. I've been a student of the industry for about 20 years. I know that we can get the timer started up here because I'm bad with time management. If you count me down, I'll try to hustle through this. I know I've got a lot to cover in a short period of time. But first and foremost, a little bit about myself, so maybe you understand why you might care to listen. I was the son of a small business owner. I grew up in Jefferson City, Missouri, but I was raised by entrepreneurs. My dad owned a law firm, had a small business. My mother was an antique dealer. I saw her selling merchandise every week to in the local community. My sister ran a bed and breakfast. My aunt ran an art gallery. So I was raised by entrepreneurs and small businesses. And so deep in my DNA, I've always found a really important role that local businesses play in community. And I think that's one of the reasons why I set out in my career to find a business that would actually help local businesses succeed with technology. I've always been a tech investor, and at one point I was even a webmaster, but in 1995 I started an online casino and with a group of investors, and the idea was imagine the margins you could make dealing cards without a physical casino and how much money you could make. And the business went well, but about 1996, when we realized that the feds may not let us do this freely, I got out of that business and was really fortunate to buy the domain name Cars.com in 1997 from a proud Corvette owner in New England. I can tell you that I called the gentleman and said, how much would you want? And he thought I was asking about the vet. And I said, no, I want to buy the domain name. I think he paid about $25 to register that domain name in 1997. We ended up settling for about $70,000. Now, $70,000 in 1997 for a domain name in a matter of months that he owned is a pretty big transaction. But it was clear to me that this was going to be a great industry to be involved with because of local businesses and local entrepreneurs who had not yet embraced technology. I spent most of 1998 traveling to dealerships carrying AOL diskettes. I don't know how many of you remember AOL and downloading the diskette that came in your mail. But I probably have created over a couple hundred dealership AOL email addresses in my lifetime, helping dealerships get on the internet. But I think what I've picked up over the years is I have learned far more from you than I have given the industry. And so people like Alan, I've learned a lot from over the years in the Twin Cities. I was very blessed last night to have Tim Jackson give me a tour of the auto show, and what a great host he's been. And I'm thrilled to be here today to share with you a little bit about what I see are future trends in the industry. So what I want to talk about, let's see if this goes. Does this clicker work? I'm going to need some tech support, I bet. Or could you advance them for me, and I'll just give you the signal. Oh, here's another one, Charlie. Thank you. Let's see. There we go. I will mostly speak to you today from what I know, like Alan, about what consumers think about you and what the consumer research that we've done. While I work with dealerships every day and auto manufacturers, the bulk of our research tends to be focused on what shoppers think, believe, and do. At our company, we help our employees focus on helping consumers navigate what they've consistently told us are their four biggest frustrations and fears. What product should I buy? How much should I pay? Where do I go to buy it? And more recently, who do I buy it from? We call it the 4 Ps of automotive marketing. And so most of our product innovation helps build solutions that help consumers navigate one of these 4 dimensions. On the product side, we've got editors today in the New York Auto Show. I want to get them here, but they're writing about the cars that are coming out, and we write reviews on every new car on the road. On the price side, I'd encourage you, by the way, use your mobile phones while you're talking to me and check some of this stuff out. You can download the Cars.com app on your phone. Take a look at how your cars are priced on our website. We've launched state-of-the-art pricing tools in the past year that take the pricing down to a trim level. We're the only ones in the industry that are spending millions of dollars to get accurate pricing intelligence down to the car, even on geo basis. We know that cars with heated seats in Denver are a lot more important than they are in Florida. And so our pricing algorithms actually support the why a car is priced the way it is. We acquired a company called DealerRater you may have heard of last year. It's the #1 destination where people are trying to assess which dealership they should buy from. Importantly, 90% of people enter the car market not being committed to any dealership that they want to buy. And then lately, person. Alan touched about this. If I could give you one message to take away today, it's the power of your people. I think you can leave events like this overwhelmed with technology, and I would offer you that if you do nothing else but focus on training and developing your people to take care of your customers, you will be well positioned to succeed in this industry for quite a long time. I know that over the course of the last day and even today and tomorrow, you'll hear more about the demise of retail. I think it's really important as an industry for we to study other industries. We recently took our company public. I've assembled a board of directors, and I've brought in talent from other industries because I feel like that combination and conflict of information is really good and drives advanced decisions. I've got a member on my board from Best Buy. The executives at Best Buy, I think, have navigated the Amazon jungle quite well, and I can share with you some of the insights that they have learned. And many people talk about the demise of retail. These are the global retail closures across the U.S., across all industries. You'll see there's almost a 7-year cycle where technology does some disruption and really negatively impacts local retail. Now, what a lot of people don't talk about is why these local retailers are being impacted by technology and how it's destroying a lot of local communities and businesses. And Matthew Shea, the CEO of the national retail industry across all industries, he just believes that the rate of change is happening faster than ever. And you being here this morning shows me that you're thinking about your future and what you're going to do to navigate what is a faster and faster moving business. I think, Alan talked about the simplicity, removing friction. I think there are many vendors and solution providers here that can help you build websites and experiences that will make your users feel like doing business with you is far easier. But I do know that Amazon will enter the car market within the next few years, without a doubt. Now, how they'll enter the market, I don't know, but I will be certain to you that this company knows nothing but destruction of local retail as its core DNA. And while many people admire Amazon and people use them constantly, to me, I find them to be quite frustrating. They don't pay local tax. They don't give money back to your schools, to your fire departments, to your police stations, and they operate at massive tax advantages over local brick and mortar retails. Even if you compare them to Walmart, Walmart's spending close to $8 billion, or what was it, $56 billion in taxes over the last 10 years, compared to Amazon paying less than $1 billion in local and state taxes. So when Amazon enters the car market, it'll be interesting to me how they'll go about doing it. One guess I would say is they'll buy a company like Carvana, who I don't think can make a profit. Amazon doesn't seem to care much about profits. They care about crushing local competition and then aggregating that volume and profiting off the backs of that local delivery system. But I could see them buying a company like Carvana and offering the benefit of shipping cars to consumers direct. Why it's so important for you to focus on the people side of your business is what I do know about this industry is that the #1 aversion that consumers have is all those uncertainties about products, prices, the place they should buy, and from the whom. And your people, if they can provide value in this exchange, this is the second largest transaction in most people's lifetime. The people that they work with in your stores are the difference between click to buy and actually having a great experience. And I'll talk to you about how you can use your people as your competitive advantage and weapon against the eventual entry of Amazon. If you're not looking at your business on your mobile phone every day, I will tell you you're already out of touch with where the market is going. Today in my company, my team brings me all kinds of product ideas and they want to project it up on a big screen, on a big wall. I tend to stop them and say, just sit me down at my desk and show me what this is going to look like on my mobile phone. So again, I constantly have my app open. I'm asking my team to show me how things are going to look on this device, and I challenge all of you to spend more time on your dealer websites on your mobile phone than you do on your desktop screen, because the data will show you that's where your audience is going. And the younger they get, the faster they're moving towards smaller devices. Millennials, obviously, this is actually percentage of people using their mobile phones exclusively for car shopping. Over half of millennials are using all of their car shopping time on their mobile phones. So are you running your business with that same degree of time allocation towards where your strategy is anchored. That's where the future is going to be. Spend more time. We focus a lot on aggregating audiences in the mobile marketplace. You've got one of the youngest demographics in the industry, and importantly, they have a very short purchase horizon. 83% of mobile shoppers, when they go onto their phone, they have a compressed timeline, where I think many people have heard, 6 to a year or longer, people are thinking about the car market. Millennials are very impatient, as Alan said, and they will quickly decide what they're going to buy, where they're going to buy it, who they're going to buy it from. When we aggregate this data on our platforms and we survey our users using a desktop site, they tend to have about a 67-day purchase horizon. But when we isolate and survey our users on mobile devices, it's a 37-day purchase horizon. So it validates, again, your audience is moving towards the small screen, and when they're there, you need to have your best foot forward. One of the challenges I see as I travel the country talking to dealerships constantly is the way that you're being told to evaluate your advertising and marketing. And I will tell you that the systems that you use today, that are in place today, have been the same systems that you've had for well over a decade. And they are highly flawed and fragmented, and they need to evolve. And if they don't evolve with shopping behavior, you will find yourself, like many retailers, trying to buy traffic at the expense of profit, and you will speed your own demise. You need to spend more time understanding your consumer journey and how they shop, rather than what your vendors are telling you to look at in terms of web metrics. I've been in the internet industry for 20 years, and I'm blown away at how much crap gets slung as being, look at all these great KPIs and tons of impressions and tons of clicks, and at the end of the day, it's not effectively changing the trajectory of your business. I'd be very dubious about businesses that prey on price fear, people that market to consumers that you use us to get a screaming deal from you, that ultimately that conveys that you can't be trusted. So, personal opinion there, I would not work with partners that basically make you out to be the person that they can't trust. So let's talk about leads and where they're going. Quick show of hands, or just let me ask you to yell it out. When you talk about your internet departments at your dealerships, what kind of closing ratios do your teams tell you you're generating, or are you tracking? Who can share some of your internet department closing rates? Yell it out. That's high, 17.5. Who else can cite some of your internet closing rates? 12. I typically hear rates anywhere from high single digits up to 17, 20% on the high side. Some dealers will tell me that the leads from my own website close much higher, obviously, and I understand that psychology. 20% would be the absolute highest I've seen. As an industry, there's probably 50 companies selling leads to you as dealerships, but the industry as a whole, close rates around those are around 10 to 12% at best. I think that's also a 90% failure rate. So I got to ask myself, why as an industry do we all focus on something that has a 90% failure rate and focus on the monetization of what is effectively only a 10% success rate? Obviously, when we look at dealerships, the number one way we see dealerships evaluating digital investments is they're counting the number of leads that come into your CRM system, which tend to be dependent upon salespeople accurately entering data, which I'm fairly certain isn't an exact science, divided by the monthly advertising investment to calculate a cost per lead and a cost per sale. Show of hands if that's roughly how some of the math that your dealership is feeding you data. What I think is flawed about that is that lead gen closing rates continue to decline, as do consumer interest in submitting information online. Lead gen was a started business almost 15, 20 years ago, and if you think about the value prop of submitting your information through a form, it really is a dying industry. We set out and we've used geolocation technology to map every dealership in this room, and we've got a physical footprint of your physical operation. And then I can see anytime someone's using my app or my web properties, and when they physically walk onto your lot. And you'll see a screenshot here. My email is alex@cars.com. If you've never seen this data for your dealership, please email me. I'd be happy to get you information on your store. But we can actually count the number of people that are anonymously coming on your dealership, looking at your information. We can also show you which other dealerships they visited in that same day. And we can tell you, what they're doing. Now, how many of you track the closing ratio of people that come into your dealership physically? Okay, what are some of the closing rates that you cite when someone physically walks in the store and greets one of your salespeople? Yell out some numbers there. 20? 30? Certainly those numbers are in many cases 2 times what you're seeing when you talk about internet closing rates. I know some of the large dealer groups track this data religiously. What I've consistently seen across the country is almost a 40% closing rate, particularly for luxury dealerships. If someone walks onto a luxury dealership, you get about a 40% closing rate. Obviously, for more credit-challenged dealerships, we hear and see physical close rates anywhere from that 20 to 30 percentile. Obviously, that's double your internet department. So if all consumers are shopping online, yet we're tracking only the lead gen, there's a flaw in how we're measuring the effectiveness of your investments. So if you look at this as just an example dealership, I talked to in the Denver DMA, 85 leads that were generated times a 10% closing rate generated 9 sales, so that's what they thought the value prop was. The reality is almost half that were walking in at a very conservative 20% closing rate, generated the same number of sales. On one side, the internet department is evaluating lead gen. The other side of the department isn't even counting this as part of the investment metrics. And I think many dealerships are being led astray by your own marketing and analytics groups who aren't connecting the dots between how internet shopping is driving showroom traffic. The last part of the conversation I want to challenge you to think about as you race to find the most profitable way to run your business is how you advertise and market. I see dealerships continually trying to buck the grain of the consumer trends, and I see lots of profit being wasted. When this is the Nielsen's global study, this is a global study of all sources of information that consumers trust, and asking consumers, when you seek information on any category or purchase decision, where do you find something that you can trust? Obviously, your friends and family or your closest network, 82%, followed by online reviews at 66%. Those are people that they don't know, but they believe reviews far more than they believe visiting branded websites, certainly more than they believe ads running on television, right? We live in a world of fake news where people don't even trust journalists, broadcasters, or media, yet we pour out advertising messages expecting people to believe our own advertising claims almost as if it's more credible than the local news. So there's major gaps in trust in the world. We actually analyze the same data only looking at car shoppers. And what you'll see in terms of what consumers who are in the actual market to buy a car is that they first and foremost seek out expert reviews, as the number one source of trust in the industry. Think of that as Consumer Reports. Selfishly, I think our editors at Cars.com do a good job as well. But word of mouth and reviews and from friends and family, again, almost at that 70%, and consumer reviews, all much higher, far more higher than news or specifically advertisements. 25% of people don't even believe the advertisements. If you think about how much money you spend each and every week advertising your business, again, I think about the negative side of potentially a 70% waste factor. So what can we do about that? Our latest research through DealerRater showed that the number one aversion people have coming in to see you is not knowing who they're going to work with. And most of the research we show is that consumers, if they could just know who they had to work with in advance of coming into the dealership, it would bring down the aversion to physically walking into your store. We were blown away because we also thought that product uncertainty and pricing uncertainty were far higher. Turns out the number one aversion to physically visiting your dealerships is not knowing who they're going to have to work with. What's important about this is we found that the reason why is they actually wanted to make sure that someone could meet their needs. This is, again, an example of how you compete with Amazon. If you're looking at Amazon, you're buying something, you're not able to talk to somebody, and that's fine if you're buying paper towels. But when you're buying a lifestyle choice like an automobile, who you're going to work with to walk you through to make sure that what you put your hard-earned money down is a really important part of that exchange. And so by you embracing your team and your talent, you'll do a better job. We also have found some interesting data that if you invest in your people, I think Alan mentioned this as well in terms of building employee profiles so that people can actually select which person on your website they want to work with, it actually helps reduce turnover. This is one of our number one issues in the industry today because we know that sales rep turnover is through the charts. Most dealers tell me, I don't want to put reviews of my people out on the web because then my competition is going to call and hire away my best people, right? I hear that example all over the country. They fear people leaving their dealership or not being, or losing their best people. We find just the opposite. If you invest in your people, they build equity with you. Many of you have social media accounts, I imagine. Think about that. You build up your time to build your network of following. It's not like you're just going to delete that and then start a new network the next day, because now you've left your old network behind. And transitioning that network to a new platform or a new piece of technology it adds a lot of friction. So the more you can get your employees to build their book of business and have that appended to your dealership, you're actually strengthening their commitment to work for your store because they're proud that you invest in them. That's all I've got. I hope to run through that quickly, but my name's Alex at Cars.com. I'd love to continue the conversation. Charlie, I think I got through in exactly the time you gave me. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic, Alex. Really appreciate it. So, and again, a great history, and I'd forgotten that you had actually captured that Cars.com name, and I remember being at Kelly NADA when you guys just showed up, all big and important, and it was like, wait a second, who are these guys? That being said, back in that day, if you and I had a conversation, we would have said, oh my gosh, this digital revolution is going to do away with all of these marketing costs at dealers. And between your company and some of the alleged competition, there's been some significant costs associated with all of the development of digital marketing departments and things like that. I know you showed some great examples of things to do. Comment on that just one more time to the dealers in terms of all of a sudden this expense that wasn't available or wasn't on the bottom line decades ago.
Look, I got involved with digital advertising because I thought we could save dealers a lot of money, right? And acquire shoppers who've declared an intent to buy long before they showed up. And we could, and you saw this through 2000 through 2010, the cost to advertise to acquire a shopper dropped precipitously. But here we are in 2018, the cost to advertise to buy audiences is almost back to where it was a decade ago. I think you can thank Google for that. Average cost to acquire a keyword in automotive today is rising north of $7. That's just for a click. You do the math and tracing it all the way down to a sale. Google is costing small businesses a ton of money because we're bidding against each other trying to fight for that traffic. And I think inflating a lot of cost and making a lot of technology companies rich. I think dealers, if they focus more on experiences and differentiating on other platforms other than price aversion, and the race to the bottom, I think dealerships can differentiate on experiences, and consumers are going to come visit the dealerships that have the best reputations, bar none. And so if you put more time in getting to your people to tout your customer reviews, I think that's a much more efficient marketing vehicle than continuing to plow money into Google.
You know, Kerry was up here at the end of the day yesterday from TrueCar talking about third-party providing information to the consumers. And once again, we may have thought years ago that certain sites, whether it was Kelley Blue Book or Cars.com or TrueCar, would have provided some information, but over time, the dealer would have taken on that responsibility for all communications with the consumers. That doesn't seem to be happening. It still seems that third-party, whether, again, it's automotive reviews or even in the case of trade-in values, et cetera, are an important part. We just need to realize this is an ongoing partnership and really strengthen it?
Well, look, I sleep well at night knowing that even though the auto industry, dealers and manufacturers have spent over $8 billion in the last 10 years, traffic to my business has not deteriorated at all, and I certainly haven't grown my marketing expenditures at the same degree. I think that underscores the durability that consumers want to shop in aggregation, trusted third-party marketplaces. I would also submit, though, there's a lot of shady third-party marketplaces, and I don't think we're all created equal. We've always kept our business about putting the dealer in the best light, and I think the third-party marketplaces that make the dealer out to be some sort of voodoo doctor that you can't trust, that's why you need that platform. I think those are the businesses that don't really serve the industry well.
Yeah. Alex Vetter, Cars.com, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. So.